Welcome back to Studio 4 and welcome back to Skylar Gallup. We are so glad to have you in. Tell us about your guest this week, Elton Bradley.
Yeah, Elton's one that when I kind of rethought about him, I was like, surely he's been on the podcast before. Because, I took it over from Jason.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I'll have, a really good idea and it's like, of course Jason is taking it. And he hadn't been on the podcast before. So he's one that's like, it's been a long time coming because Elton is nothing short of very interesting.
So tell me about Elton's Amarillo journey. And how all this has played out, because he's such an integral part of it now.
Right.
I'm curious about his past.
Yeah, he grew up here on the north side. The first time I met him, he was actually being inducted into the Paladuro Hall of Fame. So that was like a handful of years ago. So, made an imprint on his community, but then he moved away. He moved off to college, was going to go, do bigger, better things. Kind of did like an entertainment thing for a while. Worked in like comedy shows and clubs and, people have wonderful pathways. And then got into security, came home, worked at Pantex, of course. From then, professionally speaking, which I think is like two halves of Elton, is his professional path and the work that he's done in the nonprofit space, has, by all accounts, built an incredibly successful career in security. He's currently the general manager of the largest security business in the world. So he lives in New Orleans now, and we talk a little bit about the great culture of New Orleans and why he loves it and all of that, but he works in security there. And all of this time that he's been building this really amazing career and life in New Orleans, he has continued to be the president and of the nonprofit that he founded like 15 years ago, the Northside Toy Drive.
What a phenomenal organization that they continue to do. In this, there's, again, because everybody has a unique journey, I did not realize, I've known a little bit about Elton Bradley, but I would have not known anything about his being in entertainment.
I know.
Especially knowing like he's like the security side of it, right?
Yes, yeah. And it's so fun whenever you interview someone for this thing and you find these other things, and I think a lot of times people that are interesting are interesting in more than one way.
Well said.
Yeah, I think that's definitely Elton's story. So we talk about the security stuff. We also kind of, to your point, talk about how all of these skill sets and growing up on the north side of Amarillo and all these things stitched together to create the leader that is Elton. And certainly spend a lot of time, because I think it's quite remarkable, talking about why someone would choose to continue to pour into the place that raised them. And Elton certainly does that.
Even though they're gone, continuing to make an impact. Where can we get this podcast?
Anywhere you listen to them. So heyamarillo.com, of course. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and I think kind of like most convenient, anywhere you listen to your podcast. So we're on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple. This is a really lovely one.
And go ahead and subscribe, so that way it just automatically comes down, and so when the next episode rolls, it's just waiting to be listened to. Skylar, we appreciate you, and we'll have more Studio 4 after this.